What about the internationalization of the RMB, the Chinese currency, during this period? The heat is up again. I'll talk about it casually. Let's now talk about economics, but about some common sense in life. Everyone must have common sense about currency internationalization. Do you want others to use your currency? First, let them have RMB in their hands. For example, China wants to use US dollars to buy Saudi oil, Australian iron ore. You must first obtain US dollars from trade with the United States. How come there is? Generally, there are only two ways. You buy their stuff, they have your money. What about China's foreign exchange? This is what China earns from the United States through foreign trade, or borrows money. When China first relaunched, China wanted to introduce the entire production line. Part of the money was raised by selling oil from Daking. The other part is borrowed from Japan. Some friends may say, is it possible to engage in currency swap? Of course, but it won't solve the big problem. For example, China made an exchange with a certain country. Both sides put $10 billion in each other's currency, put it into China's own account. China returns their currency after maturity. They return the RMB, and many countries have no minds. There's nothing China can appreciate. Otherwise, China wouldn't have a trade surplus with those countries. If China gets RMB, it can buy our things. But China has nothing to buy them. Currency swap becomes a disguised form of loan. So back to that question. There are only two ways to let others have China's money: deficit and loans. What about the first way? It's just that China buys more of other people's things. Others should buy less from China. So, others will keep the next part of the RMB in their hands. Then, you can use RMB to go shopping in other countries. That is, China continues to withhold compensation. At this time, the old problem comes. What will happen if we continue to conceal the investigation? Of course, it means deindustrialization. This is almost the fate of the international currency master country. Sugarcane is not as sweet at both ends. You can't have all the benefits and all the faults and not respond. Besides, it's not just about the deficit. For example, China hopes that the purchasing power of the RMB will be strong. Just like a US dollar, $1 can be exchanged for $7 or $8. But if that's the case, the cost in China will be very high. By then, the mid to low-end manufacturing industries will have moved out. Only high-end manufacturing and service industries are left. Japan has done this too. Everybody knows. Japanese yen appreciates sharply after Plaza Accord. Japan's consideration is to cooperate with the internationalization of the yen. Then there was a problem with the export. This caused a lot of trouble later. What is the problem with the hollowing out of American industries now? In a sense, it's just that it was counterattacked by the international currency. Can we lend money to other countries? It's not complicated to understand this problem. There is a wealthy man in the village who has opened a factory, but no one has money to buy his products. So he lent money to the poor people in the village. Let him buy his own things. This is okay in the beginning, but as everyone owed him more and more money, in the end, you may not even be able to pay back the interest. Sooner or later, the debt will explode. When the time comes, the money owed by others will not be paid back. Even the stuff from big-name factories can't be sold. Everyone is finished together. At this point, you may want to ask, will this ever end? Blogger, what you mean is that China cannot lend money to others. That's not true. The key is to see what China is borrowing money for. If China lent China 100 yuan, China bought 100 pieces of bread from China and China ate it. When it's over, this debt is gone. But I will lend you 100 yuan. You bought an excavator from me. Go back and dig out the ore. Or invest in a farm. Sell me product. Got RMB again. Buy bread and digger from me. This is a virtuous cycle. In fact, the core of the Marshall Plan is not borrowing money. It's borrowing money to restore other people's economy. A lot of money that the United States lent before has become that debt. Only Europe, Japan, and South Korea played a role. Because, except for South Korea, these areas all have very good foundations. As long as you give money, you can grow big quickly. That is to say, borrowing money not for the purpose of economic development. In the end, there is a high probability that it will become a bad debt. And what's more, many countries are simply not good at economics. The country is also unstable. Change a leader and change a set of governance methods. These are very troublesome. Almost all the countries in South America have this problem. Introducing foreign investment when the economy is bad. The economy is a little better. The new leader will liquidate foreign capital to plunder the interests of one's own country and so on. Then came another plunge. The last 100 years, they were almost always running in circles. In the past, we supported their investment in foreign investment. Not now. Now we are foreign investors. The United States has suffered many setbacks before. Don't look at the fact that many people say that South America is the United States' backyard. Still, we have been tricked countless times. The most obvious one is Iran. China invested so much in Iran. The revolution broke out overnight and everything was in vain. China also invested heavily in Pakistan before. Isn't it of any use? China has been investing in India again in recent years. Finally, there's that bad question. Want to internationalize the RMB? Foreign exchange controls must be relaxed first. Why are exchange controls needed now? Mainly people are easily frightened. Maybe all the foreign exchange will be exchanged by then. A man-made disaster caused by no reason. That's not necessary. There are also some pragmatic considerations. We are outsiders. As a trading country, we have to maintain the RMB and not allow it to appreciate too much. Then wouldn't our foreign trade advantage be lost? But if you want to control the exchange rate, you cannot let go of controls. Blind bag impossible triangle. Hey, I won't go into detail about this. Just search it and you'll find it. This also shows a problem. In the eyes of many people, the credit of RMB is not as good as that of the US dollar. Otherwise, China should be rushing to exchange US dollars for RMB. Don't China need to worry about the loss of foreign exchange? As long as China worry about the loss of foreign exchange for one day, that means China's credit road is still under construction. Let's be more direct. Even among China's own people, many people would rather trust the US dollar than the Chinese yuan. Can China count on others? I forgot who said that. If the RMB cannot be 100% accepted by our own people, then don't expect others to accept it. That is to say, if China wants others to recognize the credit of the RMB, China has to act confident. So, is there any way China can quickly internationalize? Nothing can be done. You can only boil it slowly, penetrating into the international trade power bit by bit. First, increase China's settlement ratio. Now it is less than 3%. It will be easier once it reaches 30%, like the euro. Slowly impress others with your credit. Tell the world that the RMB will never default. As time goes by, everyone will naturally be willing to use it and store it in the safe. What if something happens? Take the RMB and run away. Because everyone recognizes this currency, you can spend it with this currency. This deep-seated trust can only be gradually established through repeated transactions. It's like in the TV show Madness. Both the white and the underworld believe in Chen. It's not because an Angson has superior military strength, but because I have experienced so many things. Everyone found that this person was the only one he could rely on. Peace of mind is extremely predictable. He has average abilities, but it has very strong credit. Next time something happens, you still need to find safe currency. This is also true. These principles are all the same. As for what many people have said about their experiences, well, that's definitely a factor, but it's not the key factor. I have given an example repeatedly. When the Soviet Union was at its strongest, money and credit are far less cold than Switzerland. Is that because the Soviet Union didn't have as many nuclear bombs as Switzerland? Or is it because the Soviet tank group cannot defeat Switzerland? Of course not. Just in the process of repeated transactions, everyone finds that the Swiss franc is more trustworthy, and there are fewer Swiss francs being spent. Credit is something that exists in the human heart. You can't force others to believe you. As for the petrodollars I've been talking about, I recently read a tome, the Oil Age Acidic Publishing House. The author means it is not a conspiracy for oil to choose US dollars for settlement. It is a historical necessity. Because he can't choose another currency. For example, Saudis pay in Japanese yen. There is no way he can buy a British Land Rover. Is it settled in pounds sterling? I can't buy the American F-16 anymore. The United States also has a more critical medical advantage, that is leadership in pharmaceuticals. No matter how awesome you are about high-ranking people in other countries, don't you also need to treat illnesses? You have to treat your family members. Then, you have to take medicine, right? The United States is high on drugs. That's almost a lot of beauty. Many countries can leave China's iPhones, but China can't do without those drugs. Same reason. Kissinger did not sign the 10-year dollar agreement with the Soviets. So why did the Soviets also settle in US dollars? It was the Soviet leaders who had a strange mind. Do you want to strengthen the position of the US dollar? Of course not. The Soviet Union needed dollars to buy Canadian grain. There are also European and American technologies. The same reason. Why are we there? Italian foreign exchange reserves. So what matters about the scale of foreign trade? Isn't it because you can spend dollars everywhere you earn? Once you understand this, you will understand. If China now uses dollars to settle oil, is that possible? Of course it is. Because dollars can buy American industrial products. And Dongfeng Express. But is it okay to settle everything in RMB? Well, that won't work. Because he also wants to buy things from other countries. International trade among many countries. That means they don't recognize RMB. Everyone should understand after seeing this. You can't make everyone overnight accept your currency. 3% transaction volume increased to 30%. Obviously, it's not something that can be achieved in the short term. So, we can only slowly penetrate it. Wait until everyone has RMB in their hands. RMB settlement is also accepted. At that time, our currency became internationalized. This is a slow process of improvement. It can be faster. But it won't be too slow because the size is here, with the size of China. The global settlement currency rate only accounts for less than 3%. This itself is abnormal. It will definitely improve significantly. It's just everyone's intuition and common sense in life. I don't think it will be too soon either. There should be big changes in a few years. And many people are talking about the collapse of China's dollar system. I don't think I can rush it. On the one hand, what we said earlier, being an international currency will bring more troubles than benefits. Spend it slowly. On the other hand, I tend to think that it can't go faster either. What about the dollar collapse? When was the Bretton Woods system established? Just say it again. We have experienced several dollar crises in history. On the contrary, it became stronger. Why? Because even though it sucks, but there is really no currency like it before. More reliable even though he spams. But other currencies are even more outrageous. And there is an inertia to maintain his position. First of all, it is psychological inertia. Everybody loves dollars. I don't feel panic when I get US dollars because there is a consensus on the US dollar. You can buy anything when you get it. Others think so too, so everyone is willing to accept it. Secondly, infrastructure inertia. Now the entire world's financial system, trading system, pricing system, all in US dollars. It is almost impossible to replace these quickly, but it can indeed penetrate slowly. It's like China's power grid took decades to build the history of mankind. The most complex and massive power system. A rich man said, "We need to build a new one to compete with the power grid." Do you think it's possible for him to do it in a short time? Not necessarily in the long term, but almost impossible in the short term. So let's talk about the key to the future. Still have to endure and endure it slowly. Have strength, credibility, and don't send random messages. Doing better than dollars. Slowly everyone will trust China's currency. When will foreign exchange controls be lifted? If everyone has money, they won't exchange it for dollars. People in other countries have their own currency, also anxious to change into RMB. Our monetary status is real. It's established. Sure, some people say I'm dreaming. But the fact is, if the RMB wants to be internationalized, China's. This is just the most basic requirement. That is to say, as long as China's trade with the world becomes larger and larger, China's international status is increasingly important. China's currency, the more people need it. Of course, the key is the issue of appreciation. International currencies will definitely appreciate. Appreciation will lead to industrial outflows. There's nothing China can do about it. The adult world. It's impossible for you to take advantage of everything. At the end of the level, let me say a few words. Are you talking about this topic? There are definitely some people who think I shouldn't talk about this. Destroy one's ambition. What we should talk about is the dollar horse. We are going to be internationalized soon after the above is finished. But I don't think so. I asked several industry experts. They also think this is a long-term matter. I think rationality is the greatest confidence. The essence of quick victory theory and surrender theory are the same. Many people just accept the theory of quick victory. Then I didn't see the results quickly. Then collapse and switch hymns. These 2 years, everyone can clearly feel this atmosphere. In fact, people who pursue quick victory, I must have done it for a week in high school to become a top student. I got 1 million or something in 3 years at my workplace. The final result will definitely be a mess in learning. Frustrated and want to make money quickly. Finally went to gamble. In the end, there is nothing left if you lose, only knowing that there is a long road ahead. To have continuous confidence, a truly determined person. On the contrary, those who look at the problem objectively, a person who is neither arrogant nor impetuous, will not be dazzled by temporary victory. Nor will I be completely overturned by a momentary setback. Take your time, and everything you should have will be there. Thank you, everyone, for watching. If you like it, please follow and support it. See you next time.